midnight screams.
A creepy individual was lurking about my house. He almost got me too. A few days back, I had left my abode in search of enjoyment in the surrounding wilderness. I do this quite often, running off for hours at a time to climb trees and imitate bird calls. This brought me quite a lot of enjoyment, so I'd usually stay out until sunset. One evening, the sun had begun to set, and darkness crept through the already dark canopy. I was sitting in a tree overlooking a nearby field, imitating the call of a bluebird to advance our discussion. It was more like a heated debate this time, because other bluebirds joined in. The sun was setting in the horizon. A black van with tinted windows moved into the corner of my eye. I turned to look at it. The van parked barely a foot into the field, and the driver opened the door, departing from his vehicle. He walked leisurely about the field, a red piece of paper in his hand. As he walked, there were points in time where his vision was directed at me. I found this unsettling, but believed that he couldn't see me. Eventually, it got to a point where it became all too creepy, and I had begun shifting myself into a smaller position. He had continued his walking before leaving the field in his black van. I was unsettled, so I decided to head home. The sun had almost set, and the darkness was becoming thicker. I climbed down from my perch and jogged home. I had a feeling that I should take one of the less obvious paths, so that is what I had done. I had soon switched to walking, because exercising in a chest binder is painful. I soon saw the man, around 30 paces away from me. He was slinking towards the tree I was hiding in only a few minutes before. I crouched even lower, hoping to evade his vision. He climbed up the back of the tree, almost noiselessly, and realized I wasn't there. He knew that no one could leave a long stretch of wilderness in 3 minutes, so he began searching for me. My ankle gave out, and I rustled some leaves. He turned his head in my direction and came that way. I'd have been a goner if it wasn't for the deer that came running through the foliage. He took off after it. The plants were so tall that you'd mistake a teenager wearing a brown sweater for a deer pretty easily. I used this opportunity to run for the house, which I was quite glad for my silent footsteps, or else he might have followed me home. As soon as I entered the house, I locked myself inside. My ribs and ankle hurt like heck after that ordeal, but that didn't stop me. I ran upstairs and locked myself in my prepared bunker beneath my bed. I couldn't do anything except eat chips, because even in a time of crisis, Doritos still sound good. I'd never expected for anything like this to happen, but it still scars my memory to this day. Some people out there are quite awful, and I never hope to meet another for a long time. If it wasn't for that deer, I'd most likely have been kidnapped and sold. I believe he was trying to get me to believe he was just going for a walk, lure me into the false belief of safety, and then try to nag me from behind. I'm glad I got away safely, and I have never entered the woods again without a weapon. Side note, I believe this is connected to the footprints my family and I found in the snow this winter. They matched a man's shoe size and tracked about our entire lawn. There were also car tracks in the ice. We hadn't left the house at all as it was snowing. They were both fresh prints. Deer will always be our friends. Stay safe, Redditors. Rules for the wedding. If you are reading this, it means you have been invited to my wedding. Before you RSVP, please review the following rules. They will ensure you have the best possible experience. 1. The ceremony begins at the church at 4 p.m. sharp. Under no circumstances are you to arrive before 4 p.m., not even 1 minute early. The priest officiating the wedding needs to ensure the wedding attendants are well fed before the guests arrive. They will not be sated before 4 p.m. 2. The wedding colors are blue and pearl white. No member of the wedding party will be wearing any other color. If you see a member of the wedding party in a different color, do not speak to them. Remain calm and inform the bride's father. He will handle it. 3. There are only 3 bridesmaids and 3 groomsmen. If any guest counts more than this, they must inform the priest immediately. 4. The groom will be wearing a splendid navy blue suit. Guests must observe him carefully and ensure the color of his suit does not change. If it does, the bride must be told immediately that the groom has gone missing and that his doppelganger has infiltrated the wedding. 5. Once the wedding ceremony is over, leave the church at once and proceed to the reception hall. The priest does not like it when guests linger. Those who linger often fall prey to the wedding attendants. 6. Enclosed with your invitation is a small pouch of salt. Keep it with you at all times. You may need to use it, especially if the groom's doppelganger decides to reveal itself. 7. The priest officiating this wedding is Father Perez. If another priest claims to be in charge, inform the bride's mother at once. She will tell the wedding attendants. 8. If a wedding attendant suddenly begins to stomp their foot on the floor, pay attention to the number of stomps. If there are 2 to 4, everything is still fine. If there are 5 or more, all guests must stop what they are doing and quietly leave the church at once. 9. Pay close attention to the eyes of the ring bearer and the flower girl. If their eyes look normal, then they are the chosen ones for the wedding. If their eyes are solid black, refuse them entry and do not allow them near the other guests. 10. Once you have taken your seat for the ceremony, remain seated. Do not stand up for any reason until the ceremony concludes. The wedding attendants will not like it if you do. I am so glad you have joined us for the matrimonial ceremony. It would not be a success without you. I hope you are ready to party all night long in the main hall. But first, there are a few more rules we must discuss to ensure your utmost comfort. 1. The cocktail hour is scheduled from 5:15 to 6:15 p.m. Light snacks will be served by the hall staff during this time. This is when the ring bearer and the flower girl will be napping in the bride's dressing room. Do not disturb them. The groom's mother will not be pleased if you interrupt their slumber. 2. If you see any children running around the reception hall during cocktail hour, remain calm and report it to the groom. He will know what to do. 3. The hall staff will only serve you light snacks during cocktail hour. If they ask to take your dinner order, ignore them. Your life depends on it. If you are tricked into interacting with these servers, leave the reception hall immediately. 4. At 6:15 p.m., all guests must move into the ballroom in Hall 13. Do not wander off to explore the rest of the venue. The manager will not appreciate it. 5. The DJ will announce the entrance of the bride and groom. The bride will be in her blue and pearl white wedding dress. The groom will be in his navy blue suit from the ceremony. If they enter wearing anything else, throw your salt at them and demand the return of the real bride and groom. 6. The bride is a religious woman and will ask everyone to join in a prayer before the reception begins. If the bride does not call for a prayer, refer to Rule 5 for the proper use of your salt. 7. By this time, The children will have awoken from their nap in the dressing room, changed their clothes, and joined the party. If you do not see them in a new set of clothes, inform the groom's mother. She will know what to do. 8. The dinner is served buffet style. If a server asks to take your dinner order, calmly stand up and leave the ballroom. Remain outside for exactly 30 minutes. Remember to set a timer for your return. 9. Should you need to use the restroom at any point, feel free to do so. Set a timer for 1 minute and 10 seconds. That is all the time you will need. If you stay in there any longer, the manager will come to check on you. Refer to the sub-rules for how to handle this. 9 amperes. If you feel you need more time in the restroom, find a staff member named Kati. She is the manager's most favored employee. Tell her you require more time. Kati will reply that she must ask the manager. Wait for her to return. See 9C for possible outcomes. 9B. If you accidentally stay in the restroom for longer than 1 minute and 10 seconds, the manager will find you. Inside each stall is a small compartment. Open it, unwrap a piece of beef jerky, and offer it to the manager. He will take the jerky and leave. Finish your business quickly. Find a member of the restaurant staff and whisper the code GOLD. They will understand and handle the matter from there. You must return to the party as quickly as possible. 9. C. If Kati returns and gives you the code GREEN, it means the manager has granted you unlimited time in the restroom. If she gives you the code BLACK, you are forbidden from using the restroom at all. 10. At 9 p.m., the main hall will be safe for you to explore freely. You may ask a staff member to give you a tour of all the corridors. However, you must not do anything that draws the attention of the manager or the chef. 11. The party will conclude with the chef bringing in the wedding cake. The bride and groom have ordered a dark chocolate cake. They will perform the cake-cutting ceremony first, after which the chef will serve a slice to each guest. Do not look the chef in the eye. When he serves you your cake, simply give a slight nod and say, "Thank you, chef." The chef despises being looked at. 12. When the reception is over, the DJ will dismiss guests one by one. Wait for the DJ to come and dismiss you personally, then proceed directly to your vehicle. Do not interact with any staff members. They will immediately take you to the manager if you do. The only staff member you may interact with at this time is Kati. She's the manager's favorite, and the only one who hasn't been changed. Thank you for coming to bless the bride and groom, and for attending our intimate celebration. The bride and groom are so grateful for your presence and hope that you remain safe and sound. When I was 6, my parents started locking me in the cupboard under the sink. It wasn't a punishment. I hadn't done anything wrong. They just decided one day they wanted to see what would happen if you shut a child in a small space. I beat my small fists against the door and the walls of the cupboard. I cried. I wet myself. I would peek through the keyhole and watch them go about their lives, utterly, completely indifferent. Why? I would scream in desperation. Why are you doing this? My mother would walk slowly to the cupboard, kneel so her eye was level with the keyhole, and say, simply, why not? They did this for years, always without warning. I could be eating breakfast, my mind drifting to the walk to school, when one of them would suddenly grab my arm and drag me to the cupboard. I fought back at first, but it was useless. They were adults. My struggles meant nothing. Sometimes it was for 30 minutes. Sometimes it was for half the day. I never knew if they forgot about me or if they were taking some sick pleasure in making me wait. The longest I was ever locked away was for a whole week. They left town for that time, and when they returned, I was near death. It didn't seem to bother them in the slightest. The older I got, the more uncomfortable the cramped cupboard became. The smell of the cleaning chemicals stored inside often made my head spin. The damp and daily grime would cling to my clothes and my hair. It became a kind of prison, dark but quiet. The only light spilled from the tiny keyhole, my personal watchtower. I have to admit, I got used to it. It became normal, almost comforting. I could see the entire area in front of the kitchen counter where my mother would sit and sort the mail. Further on, the front door and a sliver of the sofa were visible. My father, coming and going, always in the same hat. I started to watch them, to understand them better. Perhaps they wanted me to disappear, but by locking me away, they only made my presence more profound. Then one day, they just stopped. Maybe I had gotten too big, or maybe they just got bored. But a whole week went by without me seeing the inside of the cupboard. I was 12 then. After 2 weeks, I went and asked my father, "Why haven't you put me in the cupboard anymore?" He didn't even look up from his coffee. Why not? I'm writing this to explain why I became a voyeur. You see, after 6 odd years of being locked in a dark box, you can't help but find something positive to cope with the situation. I knew what it was to be completely alone, yet a large part of me still yearned to connect with the outside world. It was a contradiction, wanting to be free but also wanting to be alone. So for me, confinement became a different path to freedom. I hid anywhere I could fit, as long as there was a small hole to look out from. I stopped going to school. I wore clothes that covered my entire body, leaving only my eyes exposed. I wanted to see without being seen. As always, my family didn't care. I was little more than a piece of walking furniture. Finding hiding spots in my own home became essential. I found the wardrobe, the space behind a door, the darkness under the bed. No one would ever look for me. My favorite spot was a small cabinet in my parents' bedroom. It was high up and had a small louvered door. Even as a 17-year-old, I could just about squeeze inside. My knees would be pressed to my chest, and I'd lie there in that position until they were asleep. Then I would drop down like a silent owl. Years passed, spent in small, dark spaces. One day, I was lying in that little cabinet, enjoying my private world. My mother walked into the room. I remember she was wearing plain blue jeans and a white blouse. My father followed her, wearing his usual hat. Neither of them showed any discernible emotion. I noticed a gun in my father's hand. This wasn't unusual. He sometimes carried it around. But without a word of warning, my father raised the gun and fired at my mother. She had turned to face him, a look of boredom on her face. He missed. She held out her hand, and he gave the gun to her. I pressed my eye against the slit in the door to get a better view. I could hear my own heart pounding. I knew my parents were strange, but this was unbelievable. My mother examined the gun for a moment before aiming it at my father. Her shot was swift and hit him square in the forehead. He fell like a bowling pin. A sound escaped my throat, and that's what drew her attention. She looked at me. Her eyes were vacant, silent. I slid out of the cabinet, trembling as I walked toward her. "Why did you shoot him?" I asked, trying to choke down my fear. "Why not?" Her words didn't seem to surprise me. She then offered me the gun, dangling it from her index finger. Terrified, I reached for it, and she let it drop into my hand without a whisper. "Why not?" I looked at her. There was no life in her eyes, no love, no empathy. I raised the gun, and when I pulled the trigger, the recoil threw my body backward onto the bed. I wasn't sure if I had hit her. My mother stood there for a moment longer. A hole had replaced her left eye. Then, like a doll with no stand, she collapsed to the floor. Dark blood pooled from both of them, staining the carpet. I thought about hiding again in my usual spot, but it gave me no comfort. My purpose was to watch, and I couldn't watch something that was no longer alive. So, I gathered my things, my parents' clothes, and all their money. I knew I would have to find other places to hide, in other people's homes. I took the gun with me, as a souvenir, perhaps. As I opened the front door, I could hear a noise coming from the bedroom. It was my parents, seemingly returned from the dead. But I couldn't turn back, even as they begged me to stay. They said they were finally free, that they would love me now. But I had already stepped out, and I shut the door firmly behind me. This would be a new chapter for me, a new life, because why not? A Romanian experiment on knowledge conducted in 1960. Alexander Sift, a renowned scientist, traveled to the Hoia Baciu forest in eastern Romania. The forest was famed for its strange supernatural phenomena, the very reason Sift was compelled to conduct his research there. He wrote numerous reports on his experiences in the forest and documented his test subjects, but most were found burned after his death in 1993. The few surviving documents detail the experiments he performed. In every one of his findings, he concluded with the same sentence: "Knowledge is peril. In ignorance, there is peace." Decades later, the Romanian government took an interest in his research and recreated the project. 3 men volunteered. They were told it was a simple study to see how an ordinary person would navigate an area they had never been to before, using only a compass and a light source. They were, of course, lying. No one in their right mind would have participated had they known what truly awaited them. They were also promised a handsome reward upon completion. The first man was flown by helicopter to the western edge of the forest. He carried a backpack with food, water, a compass, and an oil lamp with enough fuel to last until sunrise. He was instructed to head due east until he reached a road which would lead him to a cabin where government officials were waiting. He was also told to stop every 30 minutes to log any and all occurrences on a notepad. He reached the cabin at 2 a.m. He handed the notepad to the officials and was taken back to base to receive his payment. His notes read as follows: 0:30. Stopped at a nearby clearing to rest and have something to eat. Being alone in this forest at night with just an oil lamp is truly unnerving. I keep thinking I see more shadows than there should be. 1:00. Paused in an open area to refill the lamp. I swear something is out there, watching me. I'm almost certain I saw a shadow that didn't belong to the trees. An animal, maybe? 1:30. I'm genuinely terrified now. I saw something watching me from a distance. I could only make out its human-like face, but it vanished the moment I saw it. I'm starting to have second thoughts about this experiment. 1:55. I can see the cabin from here. That thing has been following me. The farther I walk, the closer it gets. Thankfully, I haven't seen it for a little while, so I think I'll make a break for the cabin as fast as I can. The first test subject was in a state of hypervigilance for several days afterward, but soon returned to a normal psychological state. The second man was taken to the same location the following day. He was given the same equipment, except the oil lamp was replaced with a thermal imaging camera. He reached the cabin at 5 a.m. The officials found him in a state of extreme physical and psychological distress. He was hyperventilating and weeping in terror. His notepad read 0:30. This camera does nothing to help me navigate. I've already slipped and fallen a few times because of it. Everything is just a wash of blue and black, except for the occasional red spots from birds or other small animals. 1:00. I don't know what the hell you people left me out here with. I just stopped for a drink of water and heard a loud rustling in the woods behind me. I pulled out the camera to see what it was, but I can tell you for sure it was no normal animal. It was massive and hunched over. I couldn't make out any details because it was just a solid, blazing red. I backed away from it slowly, never taking my eyes off it. Even though it just stood there, I found a crevice to hide in. Figured it would be safer to write this in here. I'm going to move faster. I need to get out of here as soon as possible. 4:30. I'm sorry I haven't logged more often. I haven't had the chance. Right after that last entry, I heard it getting closer. I hid in a small cave and waited for it to pass. That's why I'm so far behind schedule. It wouldn't leave me alone. I'm not writing again until I'm somewhere safe. I can't risk it lunging at me while I'm distracted. The second test subject suffered from severe psychological trauma and was committed to a psychiatric facility for 3 months. The third man was never seen again. He was brought to the location the next night. He had the same equipment, only this time with a night vision camera. When the officials left their base, they found a crumpled piece of paper on the front steps. It contained a single short entry, 0:05. If anyone finds this, please tell my family I love them. These might be my last words. The moment the helicopter was out of sight, I switched on the night vision camera to survey my surroundings. I can see it. It's standing 20 meters in front of me, perfectly still. As I write this, it hasn't even blinked. It has no eyelids. It's taller than any man or bear I've ever seen. It's hunched over like a gorilla, supporting its weight on its knuckles and joints. I can't even call them arms or legs. It has eyes like a fish, no iris, just deep, bottomless black. My God, it's tearing through the trees. It's coming this way. After reviewing the experiment's results, the Romanian government ordered the construction of electric fences and watchtowers around the Hoia Baciu forest, strictly ensuring no one ever gets in, and that nothing ever gets out. I used to work security at Disney Wars, the happiest place on earth. Normally, I wouldn't be allowed to talk about my job online like this. There are obviously strict rules about what employees can and can't post, but I don't think I can tell this story properly without the right context. and honestly, I can't take this job anymore. I'm probably putting in my resignation anyway. I've been with the company for 23 years. The first 20, I was posted at the parks, dealing with shoplifters and the occasional drunk. Sometimes a fistfight would break out, but nothing too serious. In recent years, I couldn't handle the heat and the constant walking, so I put in for an indoor post. Thankfully, the company transferred me to one of their resorts. While my working conditions improved by 110% in terms of environment and comfort, the guest-related troubles became far more complicated, mostly domestic issues. I guess the expense and stress of a family vacation gets to people, because I was usually called to a room because the parents in the next one were fighting. When that happened, I'd advise them to take a breather or separate for a little while, and that usually calmed everyone down. But none of that has anything to do with the story I'm about to tell. I have to get this out while there's still time. 3 days ago, I got a call from my supervisor. A few days prior, housekeeping had gone into a room that was scheduled for cleaning. That day, the cleaning was scheduled between the 11 a.m. checkout of one guest and the 3 p.m. check-in of the next. All of the previous guest belongings were still strewn about the room. The cleaning crew made a note of it and went about their day. But 2 days later, when they returned, everything was still there, untouched. I checked the room's status, and sure enough, it was filled with luggage, clothes, snacks, toys, everything a family on vacation would bring with them. Management pulled up the previous reservation. It was for a family of 4, a mother, a father, and 2 young kids. I tried the phone number they provided, but it went straight to voicemail. The whole thing felt wrong, so I decided to authorize housekeeping to clear the room and put the family's personal effects into storage until we could contact them. Then, I started digging deeper into their reservation details. The family had checked in 5 days before housekeeping found their cluttered room. I also discovered they had arrived by car and their license plate was on file. A quick walk over to the parking lot, and I found their vehicle easily enough. So that ruled out the possibility that they'd been in an accident and decided to just abandon their things. Next, I saw they had purchased a dining plan. This is where guests prepay for their meals and are given a certain number of credits to use instead of cash. This family had only used 3 credits, and the last use was 2 days after they checked in. It looked like they arrived late the first day and just stayed at the resort the next. They used 2 credits at Epcot. On their second day at the parks, they used just 1 credit at the Magic Kingdom, and that was in the morning. At Disney, we have something called a magic band. They're worn by guests and act as their room key, park ticket, payment method, dining reservation, fast pass, you name it. It took some doing, but I finally managed to pull up the family's fast pass history. The day they went to the Magic Kingdom, they had breakfast at a restaurant inside the park, rode a few rides, and then got on their last ride of the day, It's a Small World, at around 11 a.m., and then nothing. There's only so much I can do on my own. I finally decided it was time to bring other people in. I called an old colleague over at the Magic Kingdom and asked him to pull the security footage for It's a Small World from the time the family got on the ride, and I headed over there myself. When I got there, my friend was a wreck, a complete basket case. He showed me what he'd found. Typically, there is a camera pointed at the loading and unloading dock. The footage showed them scan their bands, get on the ride, and take their seats on the boat. But the footage from the exit only showed the other people from their boat. They never got off. That sent my mind to the worst case scenario. Maybe one of the kids fell out, and the parents and the other child jumped in after them mid-ride to help, and they all got injured, killed, or caught in the machinery somewhere. So, we had no choice but to shut the ride down. Right in the middle of the day, too. We shut off that ear-splitting music and brought the house lights up. My friend and I walked the track 3 times before we had to call for more backup. In the end, there were nearly 10 of us searching, and we found nothing, except for 3 cell phones and a hat. I was completely stumped. I kept digging for the next couple of days, and I'm not sure I can tell anyone what I've found. I've called the police, and I suppose they are on their way, but the company is very good at keeping a lid on things like this. I decided I couldn't live with myself if I didn't put some kind of warning out. I kept combing through their reservation file these past few days, and then today I noticed they had purchased the memory maker. We have countless photographers in the parks and cameras on many of the rides, and with the memory maker, the photos are free. They're automatically added to a guest's Disney account when our system recognizes their picture has been taken. And the system always knows. With the magic bands, the system always knows where everyone is. But when I opened their memory maker album, there were 732 photos. The first 30 or so were normal, Epcot, the castle, but the rest of them, all the rest, were from inside. It's a small world. The ride camera only takes 1 picture per trip, which means this family had been on that ride over 700 times. The first photo was normal enough. Everyone looked happy. It was a busy day, and the boat was full. The next one was harder to look at. The boat was empty except for the family, and they looked confused. For the next 10 or 15 photos, I could see the father getting angry, screaming. The mother was clutching the 2 children as if her life depended on it, and I could see the kids getting more and more distraught, crying. It went on and on and on. After about 50 photos, it looked like they were trying to get out. In one photo, the father is missing. Maybe they tried to abandon the boat mid-ride and walk out, but in the very next picture, there they were, all of them, right back in their seats. After about 450 photos, I could only see the mother and the 2 children. It was only when I looked closer that I could just make out the father, or what was left of him, slumped over in another one of the seats. From picture 675 on, it was just the mother and 1 child. Another body in another seat. The mother and child weren't moving anymore. I think they were both still alive, just catatonic. They were staring straight ahead. Their eyes were wide and blank, and I could swear on my life, the dolls, they looked like they were moving. In some of the pictures, I could see them in the wrong positions. In one picture, I swear one of the dolls was sitting right there in the boat with them. I couldn't look anymore. I was going to be sick. I closed the album. The neat little number next to it had gone up since I'd opened it. Oh God, it's still adding new photos. I can see on the security cameras that the local police have just arrived, so they'll be taking over soon. I wish I knew what really happened, but I also wish I'd never gotten involved. I don't think I'll be able to post another update. After I talk to the police, I think I'm just going to leave this place and never come back. I just wanted to get this information out there before Disney feeds the media some nonsense story to cover up the fact that an entire family vanished. They didn't vanish. I know where they are.